What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flix. Very happy to be back. I've got the man most likely responsible for a lot of the physical and athletic growth of a lot of the athletes around San Diego. Trent Suzuki, how you doing today, man?
Great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Happy to have you here, man. Like I said, you've been doing good work for all the other San Diego athletes for a long time, man.
It's been a while, yeah. I moved here in 1991, and I've been going after it since then.
Mm-hmm. Is that when you moved, where did you move here from?
I moved here from L.A.,
Okay.
from Torrance, went to UCLA, got my undergrad in 86, started training at the Sports Club L.A. up in L.A., and that's where I trained Magic Johnson and Kirk Gibson and a lot of the L.A. luminary athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And then woke up one day and decided I didn't like L.A. anymore and moved down here to San Diego. A lot of my martial arts friends were down here, and so and I was driving down here on the weekends to participate in competitions with them. And so I thought, no smog,
Right.
much more chill, no traffic.
Yeah.
So I'll come down here and set up shop.
Mm-hmm. So what is like, I know like you're obviously you're a trainer, but what's like your official title for what you do?
I'm a strength and conditioning coach,
Okay.
what you'd call us.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been doing that? You were already doing it before coming to San Diego.
Yes. So I started, like I said, when I graduated at UCLA in '86. I started training during college. I was working at a health club, and kind of metamorphosized into this bigger position at the most prestigious health club in LA. I was named the head trainer there, and it was kind of a whirlwind. We were in People magazine. It was kind of a crazy deal to be part of this elite group of trainers in LA.
Nice. And so how did you get into being a strength and conditioning coach? Was it something you like when you were an athlete? Was it something you were always into, or how did you get into it?
Right. So when I was at UCLA, I was pretty much of a failed athlete. I mean, I tried to play college sports. I wasn't very successful. So I started doing an internship in the weight room at UCLA, and one of my guys I worked with was Troy Aikman, and I trained with some other guys there. And I thought, since I can't be a outstanding athlete myself, I want to train them. And so I was a kinesiology major at UCLA, so I was kind of had the education, dove deep into programming and learning all I could about the body and the best way to improve performance. And that's kind of how that whole thing started. And then once I graduated, I thought I'm going to move up in the gym company where I was at, and that's how it kind of turned into like a career. I didn't mean for it to be a career, but it's been a career, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love doing what I'm doing.
Nice. You say you were a failed athlete. What sports did you try to play?
I mean, I played them all. I was okay. I wasn't great at anything, and so I figured I might as well. My best was martial arts. I was a world champion, national champion in that. But as far as the competitive sports, I was good but not great. So.
You say you were a national martial arts champion. At what?
Yes.
In the college level, high school?
Yeah. So it's just the martial arts I did was called Tang Soo Do, Subak Do. It's a Korean style, a lot of kicking, a lot of jump, flashy, acrobatic kicks, strong punches and stuff. And so it was a good mix, and I did that up until I still train, but made 5th degree black belt. It's all cool, but now I'm just training athletes and teaching kids during the day. So
5th degree black belt. So you're a pretty dangerous dude then.
I mean,
when you need to be.
When I need to, I can handle myself and protect anyone I need to protect. So,
nice.
Yes.
Nice. And when did you get into you got into that as a kid?
Oh, when I was young,
okay.
Super young. Yes.
And what was it? Your parents that got you into that, or you were?
No, I just wanted to. I wanted to do it. I mean, Bruce Lee was kind of an idol of mine. I thought, man, I want to kick some butt and protect myself. So I got into it, and it was just a great thing. In fact, my parents didn't even pay for it in the beginning because they wanted me to show that I wanted to do it, and so I had to pay for all my paper route money.
Wow.
So I did it for a year, and then once they saw that I was going to do it, they started paying for it. But I had to show them that I was serious about it. So.
And what age was that when you got a paper route to pay for it?
Shoot, I was 14, 15.
Oh wow! So you really wanted it then?
I really wanted it because you only make about $100 a month doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
So
all your money went to that.
All my money went to that. I had to buy my own uniforms, like $80 a pop, and all the protective equipment, and mouthpieces and stuff. And so it's after about a year, my parents said, "Oh, all right, you're really into it. Okay, we'll subsidize you now.
And so did you already have the paper route, or did you get the paper route to pay?
No. I already had it.
Okay.
I wanted to. My parents taught me to
make your own money.
Make money, and that way, having your own money builds freedom and responsibility, and that way you don't have to. You're not waiting for someone else to help you. You just help yourself.
Mm-hmm. And see, it's funny you say that. I've been telling as many people that whenever the topic comes up, I don't just randomly bring it up, but whenever the topic comes up, I've been telling so many people that I wish that I got a job in high school and started working. And like when I was in high school, I didn't even want a job. Like even my friends that had jobs, and I was like, I don't want to start my adult stuff before I have to. Like I want to stay a kid. I don't want to work. You know what I'm saying? But now, like I said, in working for myself and being an entrepreneur, I've had to learn that hustle and learn how to be a go-getter. But I'm saying that to say my friends that got jobs in high school and started making their own money and learned that in high school, I definitely noticed like a difference in like how soon they understood the value of saving money, the importance of like going out and hustling and all that. So I definitely wish that I got a job in school. And even for you, like you already had the job and then was like, all right, I got a job and I found something I love that can pay for it, which is pretty cool. And you said at 14 you started martial arts?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How long? I have no clue how it works, but how long? So at age 14, how old were you when you got like first degree black belt?
So I started. Let me see. I was probably about 19, I think.
Mm-hmm.
19 when I made my first degree black belt, and then it was every 2, and then it was 2 years. I was 21, second degree. Then it was 3 years, 25, and then 28 for fourth, and then early 30s for fifth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to. I mean, if I had kept testing, I'd probably be about an 8th degree black belt by now. But life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Life, kids, career,
Mm-hmm.
and just couldn't dedicate the time to training anymore.
I hear you. And how old were you when you became a national champion?
Second degree black belt, so I was 23.
And how does that? Is it like similar to the Olympics, or is it like more like AAU? Like how does that?
Yeah, so it's just within our own discipline. Mm-hmm. So I didn't compete. I mean, I went to open championships too, like where you go against kung fu and regular Japanese karate and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I won all those championships just within our own discipline.
Mm-hmm. And so you did that all the way up through college and even after college, and then started training after you graduated college. And you said moved here in 91?
I moved here in 91. Again, I fell into the training just because it was a way to make money during college.
Uh-huh.
And then, you start training Magic Johnson and Kirk Gibson and some of these, a bunch of Hollywood movie stars. You think, oh, all right, this is something. I was making pretty good money. And, $13 an hour back then was pretty good. And then it moved to $25 an hour, and it was like, okay, this is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked a lot, and I really liked the service part of training athletes, the seeing the look in their eyes because we go hard, and they're sore and they're complaining all the time. But I said, look, the benefits, on the court or on the field, they're going to make themselves known. You're going to know in the fourth quarter when everyone else is tired, you're bodying them still, and they're not able to withstand the pressure you put on them. And that's what I love about it, is to see that kind of light bulb go off in their head that their hard work is turning into something that's going to help them not only in sports but in life.
Absolutely. Do you I feel like this may be a silly question, and I know the answer to it, but I'll ask it anyway. When like going about training like athletes for like different sports, can you train any athlete the same way, or do you have to train a football player differently from a basketball player?
It's different depending upon not only between each sport, but between each position within each sport.
Okay.
So if you get someone like, obviously an offensive lineman is going to train differently than maybe a receiver or a cornerback or a quarterback or whatnot, just because they're bigger and they have to do different things. Offensive linemen are extremely smart academically, and they have to do a whole lot of footwork and whatnot. I mean, defensive linemen, same thing, but they're more coming forward. Offensive linemen backing up. So there's a lot of different components that go into the different movements that each athlete has to do. And my job as a strength coach is to make sure that we're enhancing all those little movements so that when it comes to game time, they don't have to think about it. They can just play.
Got you. And so, like, in listening to that explanation, it sounds like for you to be as successful as you've been, you have to somewhat study each sport and specifically the positions of each sport to know how to train the athlete.
That's correct. So again, it's as you watch games, you watch motion, you look at the better players, and you say, okay, what makes them special? So I'm of the age where Jordan was my guy. The younger guys are more Kobe guys. I mean, I love them both. Mm-hmm. Basketball is my passion. I love watching basketball, and so you look at the things that they do, and you understand that, okay, they were both two-way players. They have to play offense and defense equally. They have to be able to have stability throughout their body, be explosive throughout their body, and of course have the mental toughness to withstand all the pressure. Because when you're at the top, everyone's coming after you. Mm-hmm. And it takes a certain and a very special individual to understand that when everyone's gunning for you, you can still maintain your grind and not worry about who's chasing you, because you're just going to dominate them anyway.
So it sounds like even with Suzuki Strength, which we'll get into in a minute, it sounds like you even work on the mental strength of the athletes as well.
I would tell you that that's probably what sets us apart from other strength and conditioning business. I mean, there's a lot of great businesses out there. I mean, there's people doing good work for kids all over the place. Mm-hmm. I would say what sets us apart at Suzuki Strength is the work we do with mental performance mastery. And it comes from my martial arts background, right? Okay. The mind is stronger than the body and whatnot. But you can ask my athletes, whether it's Otto or Christian or who are Boogie or Jaylen Hands or whoever I've had over the years. We do a lot of work with visualization, making sure that no moment is too big for them, that they can see themselves being successful before they actually play the game. And that way, when they are successful, it's just a byproduct of the hard work, but they've already seen themselves succeed, right? It's not a surprise. When Christian dropped 31 against San Marcos, that was not a surprise to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was to him either. I mean, he knows what he can do, mm-hmm. and it's going to bed with that, knowing that that's what you have in your bag, and that needs to be trained. Just like strength and conditioning for the body physically needs to be trained, the mental performance mastery, that needs to be trained as well. And I purposely make them uncomfortable mentally whenever we train. Right, and you can ask any of our athletes. I'm into them pretty hard during training. I mean, we have a lot of fun, but I hold them accountable. They have to know that the work they're putting in is going to lead to something positive mm-hmm. during the game, and then after the game, the recovery and all that. We talk about all that. It's very, very important.
Now you said you try to make them uncomfortable mentally as well. What types of things? If you don't want to give away any secrets.
No. It's not a secret. There's no secret. So just when you make someone uncomfortable, it's most people want to lift at a pace that they want to lift at. Mm-hmm. My job is to make sure they're lifting at a pace that's more game speed.
Okay.
So if you look at a sport like golf is more of a slower, more mental. The movements are explosive, but you don't need to train at a rate that's breakneck speed like that, because that's not the demands of the sport. Football, they need to be very strong one play at a time, but there's not a whole lot of aerobic stuff because they have so much time in between plays. Mm-hmm. Where basketball I think is the hardest sport. I think the best athletes play basketball because of the back and forth nature. The transition from offense to defense is immediate. There are no breaks. There are no timeouts unless everyone gets a timeout. Mm-hmm. So it's the way you can mentally train yourself to stay on that grind throughout both offense and defense. I've trained a lot of ice hockey players. That's the hardest sport, because they go out there 45 seconds at a time as hard as they can, and they have to rest for 2 or 3 minutes. Then they go out and do it again. Mm. So they are the hardest working athletes, in my opinion. Not the most athletic, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. but as far as the demands of the sport, I think ice hockey is the hardest.
Really, I would not have guessed that. And now you said I'm just trying to stay on the timeline here. So you got here to San Diego in '91. How long had you been? Did you already have Suzuki Strength when you moved here, or when did that?
No, I've had several iterations of my business. It became athlete training for a little while.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And that was way back in the day. I mean, my color scheme was purple and teal because I love the Charlotte Hornets. Mm-hmm. So and it was that's where I was at, and then. Someone told me that I should, use my name. That my name was would be more more appealing to people because they can put a name to the face to the business. And so I figured I'd just go with Team Suzuki because I love the team aspect of what we do in our training. All my athletes, I mean, we have certain sayings we say to each other. You know, strength is confidence, and we fist bump each other, and certain things that we do because it maintains that the discipline and kind of that team atmosphere. So I love the Team Suzuki Strength type of thing because it represents my team.
Got you. And what I guess when did you like start? What made you say, you know what, I need to like create my own business and do this kind of like, you know, have my own business with it, and when was that?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had been here about 4 years, 1995, 1996. I was working at I was vice president of a health nutrition company, a supplement company. And I was training part-time, you know, and, you know, there's that point where you go, do you really believe in yourself enough to start doing something full-time without having any, you know, subsidization from a different job? So I thought, you know, and I remember talking to my wife, and I go, you know, I know I'm good enough to do this full time, but in order for me to do this, I'm gonna have to quit the other job, and so it's kind of a frightening aspect. So I was probably you know, in my late 20s at the time. I went, all right, and so we made a deal. You know, I'd give it six months to a year, and if I couldn't handle doing this full time, I'd go find another job. But I went into it and believed in myself and rolled the dice and started getting good athletes, and it worked out.
How long did you go like so you quit the other job and you're working for yourself now? And this is a question I feel like it's gonna help any entrepreneur. How long was it before you were like, how many times, pardon me, before you got to the point where it was like, you know what, I can do this without any other jobs, without any other income? How long had you been doing it before you reached that point? And how many times did you think about, you know what, I should just go get the 9 to 5?
Well, as soon as I quit the health, the supplement company, and I was like, oh, I had all this extra time, so I could dive into marketing. You know, there was no internet, big back then. You know, there's no real smartphones and stuff, so it was a grind. I mean, I had to print flyers. I'm handing them out to people and just trying to, you know, get the word out. It's easy to get the word out now because there's all social media and stuff. But back then we had to grind. I mean, I'm putting stuff up on phone poles and going to pay phones and putting stuff on the, you know, flyers on the deal, and it was really word of mouth. And so again, I was lucky to kind of get into the Rancho Santa Fe crowd, and then they start spreading the word throughout that, and then they had kids that were athletes, and so, you know, I started training kind of you know, adults. And then it kind of morphed into more athletes. And then pretty soon I stopped training the adults because they were not as fun. And then I started just doing, you know, predominantly all athletes. So I started with more high school age, and then they started getting younger and younger. And now I have kids that are, you know, early middle school all the way to, you know, I've got a gal that I trained I've been with her almost 15 years. She's like 68 years old now. Wow. So I run the gamut, but again, I spend the majority of my time with the kids.
Got you. So you don't only train like athletes like that specialize in a certain sport. You train everybody.
Anyone that wants to get better and is willing to work hard and to be uncomfortable. Okay. Right? That's I must emphasize that anyone that trains that is comfortable is not growing. You have to be uncomfortable. I tell people all the time, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. Right? You have to be really uncomfortable, so much so that you almost want to not do it anymore because you've pushed yourself that far. When I was training, you know, you hear the Michael Jordan stories, you hear the Kobe Bryant stories. When I was training Shaquille O'Neal, I would tell him all the time, you have got to be more uncomfortable, because he was 7'2", 300 pounds, quick like a cat, and he was born like that. You know, it was hard to get him to go and work hard because he had just dominated because he had all these physical gifts. Right. You know, and I remember I flew all over the world with him, and he would, you know, I'd have to wake him up, and you know, he was young. And I had to wake him up and go, let's go. And
this is in his Orlando days?
This is in his Orlando, before he moved to L.A., in his Orlando days. And he was just, you know, young and didn't know what it takes. He never had to work hard to destroy people, because he was just, I mean, he's the greatest big man of all time. There's no one like him.
No question.
No, I mean, Olajuwon is the most skilled, but Shaq is the most devastating. He was just power and speed and cat-like reflexes and whatnot, and just, and when he figured it out, with his diet and stuff, he became pretty good.
For sure. And so now with how was business when you first started? Because I could imagine that these flyers and all this marketing that you're putting up all to as many people as you can. I know for me, I'm gonna have Troy Aikman and Magic Johnson and Shaq on these flyers. So was that any like these big names that it help you get business, or was it like a real like serious?
A little bit. I'll tell you when it turned for me was when Chase Budinger came around, because I had trained his older sister Brittany. She was a 2000, I think a 99 or 2000 grad, and then his brother was 2004, and Chase was 2006, right around your age. And so I started training his sister, and I had a bunch of girls, because she was one of the better female volleyball players, so I had a bunch of female volleyball players. And then his brother came along, and he was a pretty good basketball player, and he was a basketball guy. So it's kind of how this works is, when you get one good player in a certain sport, and they see, and they're pretty high profile, you see how well they do, and then they go, oh, well, what is he or she doing? Who is he or she training with? Right. And that's kind of how it works and stuff. But it really kind of blew up in that kind of 05. I mean, I was doing well, but when Chase in 2003, 2002, sophomore year, he was always a year ahead of everybody else, and just was playing freshman basketball when he was, he would practice with the high school kids when he was like in the 6th grade, because his brother was at LCC. Okay. He would just come to practice, and I knew he would start as soon as he set foot on campus. And it was a very to watch him morph into what he became. It was it's a wild ride. But business was really good then, because who's Chase guy? Oh, Suzuki's Chase's guy. So then that's how it works.
Got you. Yeah. No, I mean, I've even in my business, I've definitely noticed that for sure. Now this, and I don't want to stay on Chase for too long, but I gotta ask: did he already have bounce when he got to you, or is that is?
Oh no, he's. I mean, look, I would love to say that I created all that, but he had some natural. He had some natural bounce and whatnot, and I helped him, but
for sure
he had that. I mean, he had that. We got him to 42, 43, but he was 38, 39 by himself.
Got you. I asked because I've seen people that can jump higher and like run faster. I don't think I've seen. Maybe I have, but. I just remember watching it. The first time I saw him do anything athletic was actually volleyball. I saw him play volleyball before basketball. One of my friends in high school was like, bro, we're finna get like destroyed by LCC today. I'm like, bro, what you mean you finna get destroyed? You don't have no confidence? He's like, nah, bro, you don't understand. Like, they got this dude named Chase, bro. He's like, he gets his chest like over the net when he spikes, bro. There's no way we can. I'm like, come on, bro. And I went and watched him. I'm like, that was the first time I had ever seen an athlete like get off the ground like that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to ask about it. Now you've been Suzuki Strength's been going well for a long time now. What's your favorite part of training athletes and helping athletes? What's your favorite part of it?
The favorite part, like I mentioned earlier, is watching them succeed. Sure, we put in a lot of work, and we get into their head and do all that, but watching them when they kick butt on the field or on the court, and I see them, and then the parents, you can see the look in their eyes like, hey, it's working. It's working. We trusted this guy, and it's working. And that's what my job is as a strength and conditioning coach. But I'm really more of kind of a mentor to these kids, and again to earn the trust of the parents, because these kids spend hours a week with me, hours and hours and hours, and so the parents have to trust me that their kids are with a positive role model, and that will encourage them and teach them things that are along the same lines that they would be teaching their kids. So that's and the relationship that I can build with families and their athletes, that's everything to me. That means more than any money I ever make or anything, but just to see the relationships grow and whatnot.
Now maybe it might be, you might see it a little differently because you've always been on like the expert side of it, I guess I'll say. But I listen to Jaylen Rose a lot, and he talks about how when he played, athletes worked out. He was like, we worked out. We'd get a run in, get a sweat, we'd hit the weights, and then we were to the court. We worked out. He was like, but athletes today, they train. What do you do you find any truth in that, like from like the way players prepare like in the past, is how they go about it now, or is it like for you it's always been kind of consistent?
Well, it's always been kind of consistent, but what I want to say is that the difference between athletes today and athletes, from years past, is athletes from years past, they did things out of morals and obligations, right? They felt like they owed things. And today's players, if you don't watch out, they're more about rights and privileges. Okay, so the younger they are these days, they talk about, I deserve this, or it's my right to do this, or because I've earned this, then I get this privilege. And it's not a great mindset, because where the older school, morals and obligations. I've been taught to do this a certain way. I'm obliged to this coach to do this. In today's day and age, people are jumping clubs all the time. It's all about me. And so, as part of the training, I try to tell my athletes all the time, stick with one place. Don't shop yourself around. You got no rights. You just commit to something and stay with it. Again, I'm old school, so it's you can ask any of my athletes. Like I don't like it when they're switching around so much, because they do it. It's a short-term gratification thing. We want to try to delay gratification for as long as possible, right? People want to buy stuff, charge their credit cards. They want something now. You should save up for it. Wait, delay. And that makes you more mature. It makes you understand the value of what you're getting. Again, these are the kind of things that we teach, in my strength program, as well as in my teaching career. It's the same thing. You want to teach these values so that, when the sports end, they can move on, and they can be responsible adults and cherish their spouses and be good role models for their children and go into whatever profession they want. But it's what we teach at Suzuki Strength are those morals and obligations, not rights and privileges.
I love that. And you said your teaching career, you're an elementary PE teacher?
Elementary PE teacher, yes.
How long have you been doing that?
So when the recession hit, if you remember back in 07, 08,
I remember. Yeah.
The first thing that's going to go is the kid's trainer, right? All that disposable income. So it got kind of dicey for me for a little while, and I thought, I better have a plan here. So my mother and my sister were teachers. They're teachers, and so I thought, I should maybe go teach PE. I love it. And I was volunteering it for my kids anyway, so I went to Cal State San Marcos, got my teaching degree, and I've been kind of hit the ground running, and I've been teaching ever since. I've been taught a few years in the San Diego district now. I've been in the Escondido Union School District it's my 6th year there, and we're really building something special there, and I'm really proud of the work that our kids do.
Nice. I thought about being a teacher for a little bit, and I've worked. I feel like I've said it on so many interviews now, but I worked in childcare for a long time, and sometimes I think like I should go back and get my teaching credential and try to be a teacher. But
I think you'd be really good.
I think I would too, but I feel like my place with the youth and my my calling is not necessarily in the classroom. I'm supposed to be working with kids. I know I am. I know that's like a calling that I have in my life. I know that, but I don't know if it's as a teacher, like a traditional in the classroom teacher. No knock, of course, but I feel like my role is like more in spaces like this. And then after school programs where I can like be a little bit more connected. I'm not saying teachers don't have an opportunity to do that, but I feel like my space is more like like a teen center, like after school program type of
I understand.
One of my brother, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's just about to go back to school to be. He coaches. He coached at San Pasquale women's basketball, and he coached at Ramona. And I believe he's going back to school to be a PE teacher now. He's always wanted to do that, so maybe I'll tap him in with you. Maybe pick your brain about that. And also with the martial arts thing, I might have to bring my oldest son to you, man. My 5-year-old. He's been watching the Jaden Smith Karate Kid. Yeah. He's been running that thing back for like 4 months now, bro. He loves the one scene when they chase him home and like beat him up right outside of his house, and he loves the end scene when he wins. He runs both of those scenes back. So I might have to bring him down, so have him get some get some training from you.
Well, martial arts are good because of two things. One, it's the confidence that it gives to kids of any age, people of any age. And, of course, the skills that you learn will further your confidence physically because there's bad people out there. And, unfortunately, when there's bad people, they need to be taught some lessons sometimes. So we're happy to do that for them.
I love that. I love the way you put that. No, I'm sorry. That caught me so off guard, made me forget my question. I love that. Matter of fact, while I'm thinking about that, have you had many situations where you've had to use your training on someone and they weren't quite ready for it?
I used to do bodyguard work, so yes, I put myself in that position. Besides the hand-to-hand combat stuff, I'm very adept with knife and stick training and stuff. I'm huge into combat gunfighting now, so getting more into the rifles and the ARs and stuff now. But I just feel like it's for just confidence and peace of mind. You have to, if you want to be a warrior and come out on top, you have to have some skills and you have to train those skills. And it goes right along the lines with everything I'm doing in my life with teaching PE and teaching strength and conditioning and stuff. It's just you got to be ready when the lights come on, and you have to have that confidence and that peace of mind that you know that the work you're putting is going to lead to something better for you.
Nice. Who was that? One of my cousins is a boxer, or used to be a boxer, and actually my grandfather was a professional boxer as well. And what I've noticed, I was going to say guys, but people like you that are very, very well trained in a few different things that know like that they're probably going to come out on top or that they're safe in most situations. I feel like most people are like, oh no, this guy, oh you better watch. But from what I've noticed, you guys are like the most calm and like not always quiet, but more the most like calm and laid back people. And I would assume it's because it's like I know that if it hits the fan, I can protect myself.
Well, yes, and again, you have to train realistically. So, MMA is the most realistic fighting you can be in because it's full contact, everything, and it's stand-up wrestling and ground fighting, and that's what can happen. The only thing that doesn't include is weapons. Can't really train weapons like for reals because people end up getting killed. But it's the mentality of that when the pressure comes and someone's going to attack you, that you've trained in that mental space before. So I call it the fog of war, right? If you don't train with someone really hitting you, right, when they start hitting you, you'll be going, oh, and then you'll be in this fog and you won't be able to respond. That's why a lot of the regular martial arts, the traditional martial arts that aren't full contact in nature, they don't really prepare you because you don't ever get hit. I remember Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get hit the first time. And I remember when I transitioned from tournament-style karate martial arts to boxing first and then kickboxing, I remember the first time I took an overhand right, bam! And one of two things happens. You either get really, really mad or you get really, really scared. I remember when I got hit, I was so mad. I was fighting this guy that won the police Olympics in kickboxing. First time I'd ever done full contact kickboxing. He cracked me. I just remember I almost went down, but I looked at him, and I got up and I went charged after him, and I ended up losing like that round. But my trainer, he says, I wanted to see how you reacted, but you get mad. He says, and that's everyone needs to know how they're going to react in any kind of confrontation when they get hit for real. Most people don't know. They've never been in that space, where they get hit and like, oh. So it's I try to do it sometimes with my athletes. It's like they want to get hit. Okay. But it's.
I agree, man. I'm not a advocate of violence, obviously, but I've said in a joking manner, but I believe it. I feel like every man should be punched square in the face before becoming a fully developed grown man, because you don't want that to happen for I ain't gonna get into any type of situations, but you don't want that to happen for the first time as like a full grown man.
No, you don't.
Never happened before.
No, you don't.
And also getting back to what you said about like being calm in those combat moments. I was not necessarily proud of it, but I was like, I've always been small, so all growing up I was like short man syndrome. I was always quick to fight, show everybody like even though I'm small, like I got something with me, you know what I mean? But even like thinking back to like being being in those situations, I remember like being, to your point, like getting angry, like just ready to show like that I'm not afraid and just, all this other stuff. But then as I got older and did a little bit of training with my cousin who was a boxer, and even with my uncle who learned from his dad, my grandfather is a boxer. When I learned how to, and again, I'm no boxer, I'm not like super duper, I've had a few things here and there. But what I'm trying to get to is that when I got older and learned how to stay calm in those moments, I felt like I could do a lot more. I could, handle myself a lot more. I could throw better punches. I could fight better. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not in the ring with gloves on, so it's not anything that I want to, promote anything like that. But to your point, like once I learned, like my cousin was like, nah, bro, like boxers, like when we step into the ring, we can hear everything, we see everything because we're so calm. Like we're not, you know what I mean? And once I learned that, I feel like it helped me in a lot of different situations, whether I was, at work with the kids, whether I was playing a sport myself or actually in a situation where I had to defend myself or people that I was with. Staying calm is definitely, I feel like one of the biggest things when it comes to not just fighting, but athletics in general. You know what I mean?
Life in general.
True.
I mean, you can't be yelling at your boss if he or she gets into you. You just got to take a deep breath and go, I can see we're not getting along. Can we dial this back a little bit and get to the heart of what our beef is? Because people get all upset and then they verbally start yelling, and then once that happens, then both parties have lost control, and then there's no more communication going on. The failure to communicate is a big deal in today's life. Post COVID, during COVID here, turning this back to sports a little bit. Watching coaches that are just yelling and screaming, that's may not be communicating. And I think there's a way, and some can yell and scream and they communicate fine. But it's the ability to get your point across to your athletes in a way that they can learn and understand. Because that's the purpose of a coach, right? To teach and impart knowledge on their athletes so they can improve. Because coaches can't play.
Right.
Coaches coach, players play. And that whole thing is a good coach is one that can communicate their thoughts even when the chaos is happening.
Now, and since you brought it up, do you have an opinion on one way or the other about like coaches who do a lot of yelling, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I think I'm a little older now that I can, when I do coach, I can just keep an objective mindset, and emotions don't play a big part of it. But I'm not a big fan of the ones that kind of are just undressing them in public and yelling at, because these are people's kids.
Right.
I mean, no matter how much the parents trust me, if I'm publicly humiliating their kid, I don't see how that helps the kid.
Right.
I don't see how that's going to help them play better. I don't get it. I don't see how it's going to do it, especially today's day and age where, in the age of rights and privileges, right? So, but even before that, yelling is not communicating. For me. I mean, there's plenty of those that are successful to do that. Not my style. If I were coaching today, I mean, when I do coach, I don't ever yell. I mean, I'll raise my voice.
Right.
But, once you're yelling, I think you've lost control. And when the players see that you've lost control, what's that going to do to their mindset? And that's just my personal opinion. People get to do what they want to do. Right,
absolutely.
But I just think, mother effing a kid is not ever going to get them to play better. Not ever.
I agree. And see, for me, I grew up, like I said, I'm only 33, so it's not like I'm like super old or anything, but I was coached in that old school style, you know what I mean? And I was never someone who really responded well to being yelled at like that, you know what I mean? Even though like my dad was not like abusive with it, but when we got out of line, my dad would raise his voice for sure. And I don't know what it was, but for whatever, I think at home, whenever like my dad was raising his voice, I knew exactly why, and I knew like that I probably like deserved it, quote unquote. But playing sports, I never was one of the athletes that like I would always tuck it because it's like you're not gonna be crying on the field or crying on the basketball court. But I was never an athlete that really responded well to that, even though I knew like it had its place, quote unquote, if you want to say that. But when I started coaching, like I coached at Orange Glen for like 3 or 4 years. I coached middle school for like 4 years before that, and so I would always think about my coaches and what got me to really like what really kicked me in gear, but also what I didn't like and what I didn't really respond to. And I would always keep that at the front of mind, not just with coaching, but just like anytime I'm working with kids. I try to keep like my coaches and counselors and things like that, and the way they went about things, I try to keep that at the front of mind, so I don't do the things that I didn't like, and then I do the things that I did like. You know what I'm saying?
Again, it's about communication.
Absolutely.
I think those that can communicate, regardless of their style, if they're getting their point across,
absolutely,
and learning is going on, you have to maintain a culture of learning, and that's why I love being in education. That's why everything I do has to do with, I'm in this mentor position. I want to make sure we have an environment and a culture where learning is emphasized at all times, and communication is at the forefront of learning. So however you communicate, and again, usually the best teams out there, their coaches are communicating enough in an effective manner, whether you're yelling or not.
Right.
But if you look at the best coaches in today's sports locally, they're not yelling.
What types of so with you, I mean, of course you said you will raise your voice, but in being someone who doesn't necessarily like berate your athletes when you're training them. Now, if you have an athlete that doesn't seem to be responding or isn't quite grasping what you're trying to say, what types of things do you do to really to get them to respond?
That's a great question. I will say, why are you here? Like, what do you want out of this? Well, I want to get better. When you're not going hard, how are you going to get better if you're not going hard? Right? You have to turn it around to what their motivation is. You have to find out what's in it for them, no matter what that is.
Gotcha. I love that. I love that.
It's always up to the player to decide what's in it for them. As a coach, we need to, once I get a kid to say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and now I got him. I say, oh, but didn't you just say that you're willing to do anything? Good. So quit going to bed at 2 in the morning, go to bed at 10. Get your cardio in, do your homework, whatever. It's like, if you want to be good, then you got to sacrifice, right? There has to be some sacrifices. It's another thing, today's kid, that they don't want to sacrifice, they want to fit everything in. It doesn't work like that. You got to prioritize, you got to keep your, communication skills going. You have to make sure your time management is solid, and it all has to be in order. Otherwise, you get all upside down.
I hear you, man. I'm really, like I said, I tried to do that. I tried to set this up, I want to say, like a few months, maybe even a year ago. I'm really happy to have you here, man. I definitely learned a lot from having you here today, man. Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I definitely, your business is thriving and successful and all that, but I definitely wanted to have you on so that, any athletes that haven't, I don't know how they would not have, but any athletes that haven't heard about you or don't know the amazing things that you're doing here in the city, or even beyond the city, I don't know how far your reach is, but I just wanted, my audience to get an understanding of who you are and what you do, and if they need you, to know that you're there. You know what I mean? Because I've seen you with like some of the names you mentioned, whether it was Boogie. I remember before, I don't like Boogie's not anybody that I was like close to, or like we're not like family friends or anything. But I remember watching him before he got with you and just seeing the growth that happened after coming to train with you. Same with Jaylen and some of the other top athletes that have been here in the city. So I definitely wanted to make sure that all the athletes that tap into the things that I do, they definitely could know about what you do and all the things you got going on. For sure.
Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. And anytime you want to come back, whether it's you got like a class to promote or anything you got going on, you're welcome back anytime, man.
I'll do it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flix. I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Until next time.